And so, what of the others? At the Evening Standard and the Independent, Evgeny Lebedev, aka Baron Lebedev of Hampton in the London borough of Richmond-upon-Thames and of Siberia and the Russian Federation, combines Northcliffe's taste for publicity and love of titles with Murdoch's penchant for unconvincingly claiming that he doesn't exert influence on his editors. Having acquired the newspapers with his father, Alexander, a former KGB agent, Lebedev has been inserting himself into their pages since he was in his early 20s, tarting about with stars so much that he co-owns an East London pub with Sir Ian Gandalf McKellen. Is Lebedev more than a conjurer of cheap tricks? No, he's a man of almost endless bad taste, who purchases status and influence and postures as an intellectual while displaying a Chapman Brothers dick-faced child statue in his office. It's a great metaphor for Lebedev, crassness elevated to the highest levels at ludicrous expense. Murdoch showed how much influence a foreign newspaper proprietor could have. Lebedev has followed that pattern with far less subtlety. Until recently, the Daily Telegraph, Sunday Telegraph, and Spectator were owned by the Barclay brothers. Now one of the pair, David, is dead, and not just for tax reasons, and the other, Frederick, has lost control of the media empire after the banks grew tired of debts going unserved. The titles were briefly owned by Redbird IMI, the consortium that included investment from the rulers of the United Arab Emirates, but the Middle East money led to the deal being blocked by the UK government. Paul Marshall, a hedge fund manager who founded the right-wing commentary site Unheard, purchased The Spectator for £100 million in September 2024, while the Telegraph titles remained in limbo as an auction process dragged on. What the Telegraph brand will become is unclear. Under the Barclays, the titles move further and further to the right, from Tweedy Tory reading matter for retired colonels in the home counties to the House Journal of caliper owners, eugenicists, cranks, and conspiracy theorists. The company Reach is the latest regeneration of what began when Northcliffe launched the Daily Mirror for gentlewomen in 1903 and was once Robert Maxwell's Mirror Group. Listed on the stock exchange, it hasn't had a singular proprietor since Maxwell's death in 1994, but it's no more free of the curse of the British press than its rivals. On a national level, it owns both the Daily Mirror, which is a travesty of the paper it once was, purporting to be on the left, but often as reactionary as its natural enemy, the Sun, and the Daily Express, which remains almost as toxically right-wing as it was under the stewardship of former porn baron Richard Desmond. As a company, Reach has become notorious for slashing journalist numbers while demanding that the remaining staff produce more. The other outlier is the Scott Trust, which owns The Guardian. It was established in 1936 by John Russell Scott, then owner of the Manchester Guardian and Manchester Evening News, for two reasons. One principled, one practical. The Guardian tends to focus on the first, protecting the paper from the individual whims of a future proprietor and maintaining a liberal editorial tone. But there were financial reasons too. Scott also wanted to avoid future death duties, having seen his father, C.P. Scott, and brother, Edward, die in quick succession. The trust has been reconstituted several times since. It's now a limited company, but its aim of ensuring the future of The Guardian remains unchanged. That commitment did not extend to The Observer, the Sunday paper which it brought in 1993 and sold to the new startup Tortoise in late 2024, despite strike action from staff over concerns about the younger company's plans and potential for investment. In 1977, the report of the Royal Commission on the Press concluded, "Newspapers and periodicals serve society in diverse ways. They inform their readers about the world and interpret it to them. They act as watchdogs for citizens by scrutinizing concentrations of power and as a means of communication among groups within the community, thus promoting social cohesion and social change." Not even the most deranged advocate for the newspapers would make that argument now. The remaining newspaper barons are a concentration of power, and they make sure to avoid scrutinizing each other. A very small group of people own the news, and for all the talk of democratization that pinged about in the early days of the consumer internet, they worked very hard to keep it that way.